Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping.
10 shreds of evidence that giants once existed. There are various stories of giants existing throughout mythology and folklore, both modern and ancient. Just about every single culture and society across the world has a story or two of a race of giant people roaming the planet. Over the past 200 years, give or take, especially since the beginning of the 20th century, scientific finds have pointed towards these folktales being true. Scientists have found giant skeletal remains and fossilized footprints that are much larger than that of a normal human being, suggesting there was once a race of larger human beings roaming the Earth. With that being said, let's take a look at 10 shreds of evidence that giants once existed. By the end of this video, you'll find out which giant remains were discovered that, honestly, make the 9'9" Goliath look so tiny. Number 10. Giant Bones, Lake DELAVAN, Wisconsin. According to reports within the New York Times on May 4, 1912, 18 giant skeletons buried deep in charcoal were discovered at Lake DELAVAN, Wisconsin. The discovery, made by the Phillips brothers, was presumed to have been from the remains of an unknown race from the area. But could the whole thing have been a hoax? Could it have been a stunt to make the tourists interested in visiting Lake DELAVAN? With time, we can tell. But if the specimens are legit, then perhaps giants did come from another planet. Can you imagine a race of giant people suddenly appearing from the sky and coming to conquer Earth? Now that would be something that would make a prolific horror writer like Stephen King excited. But for someone like me, I wouldn't want to be around when that happens. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 9. The Giants of Death Valley. In 1931, F. Bruce Russell, a former physician, announced the discovery of a series of caves and tunnels within Death Valley in the Mojave Desert. He explored the caves and found the remains of human skeletons that stood 9 feet tall. Now, the problem with the discoveries that occurred such a long time ago was that there was not much media coverage entailing exactly what Russell discovered. But if giants really did exist in ancient times, then a series of massive caves would have been the perfect place to hide out. The question is, what were 15 feet humanoids hiding from? Now let that sink in. Number 8. Remains at Varna, Bulgaria. Varna, which is in modern Bulgaria, was once the Greek city of Odessos, an important trading hub some 7,000 years ago. In January of 2015, the remains of a giant human skeleton were unearthed. Excavators found a jar dating back to the 5th century along with the bones. Which means that if giants existed, they interacted with us much closer than we believe. Perhaps they were simply another kind of human species that went extinct as Homo sapiens became more advanced. Heck, maybe we even kept them as slaves. Indeed, ancient life is always shrouded in a cloud of mystery. But then it makes you wonder, what if this hereditary gigantism that we find in a few people on this earth is actually the long-lost gene of these ancient human species? Number 7. Giant Remains, Ecuador. In 1964 in Ecuador, Father Carlos Vaca was working in hospitals when he was called upon by locals to examine strange bones discovered nearby. The bones were 25 feet tall and very humanoid. They were over 10,000 years old at the very least. Wow, imagine coming across a human that was more than 25 feet tall. Now that would be very intimidating, wouldn't it? I wonder how these humans would fit in the world that we live in today. One thing's for sure, shopping for clothes at Walmart would be a serious headache. Or any other place for that matter. And fitting through doors would be a nightmare in itself. Number 6. Giant Mummies, Colorado River. In 1909, reports from an explorer who had been rafting along the Colorado River revealed a series of tunnels leading 1 mile underground. The explorer, G.E. Kincaid, explored the tunnels and discovered giant mummies wrapped in dark shrouds. These mummies stood nearly 9 feet tall. Well, there are a lot of speculations regarding this discovery. Could the explorer have been lying? Because, at the time, everyone was looking to gain worldwide attention to create a freak show for people to come see bizarre creatures. And if one of them was ever alive at the time, then you know for sure that he would be featured in P.T. Barnum's circus, presented all over America. Number 5. The Mystery of Lovelock Cave. Just 20 miles south of Lovelock, Nevada, Lovelock Cave sits comfortably. The cave is older than any settlement on the continent. In 1911, David Hart and James Pugh, two miners, went into the cave. They began digging and discovered a 15-inch long handprint in the wall and the remains of around 60 human mummies of average height. They kept digging and found an 8 to 10 foot tall group of mummies. Now this is very interesting because it means that at one point in time, giant people lived in practically every part of the world. Were they friendly? Were they just as intelligent as we were? What did they subsist on? All these questions just make you want to invent a time machine and go back to the past. I wonder if the Thanksgiving equivalent for giants consisted of having a whole flock of turkeys marinated with 3 gallons of whatever they could find. Well, guess we'll never know. Number 4. Giant human finger found in Egypt. In March of 2012, photographs of a mummified giant finger were shown to the public after a discovery in Egypt. This discovery truly shocked scientists because it opened up a can of questions on the idea that ancient giants once existed in Africa. The finger, which was 15 inches long, could mean a race of gigantic people. Perhaps these were the people responsible for constructing the magnificent pyramids of ancient Egypt at the time. Because, if you think about it, ancient Egyptians did not possess the technological advancements to construct such magnificent structures. It's either they had help from the stars, or giant hominids were the backbone of these dazzling ancient constructions. But if you think about it, just below Egypt lies Sudan, home to the Dinka, one of the tallest people on Earth. In fact, the Dinka are so tall that there have been cases of villages having an average height of 6'4" for the men and 5'11" for the women. Could they be the ancestors of these ancient giants? Number 3. Aleutian Island Discovery. Ivan T. Sanderson, a popular and well-respected zoologist, was exploring the Aleutian Islands in 1940 after receiving word from an engineer working there. On the island, Sanderson found skulls measuring 22 to 24 inches from the top to the bottom. For reference, the average human skull is just 8 inches. Now that's a big fella. I wonder what he subsisted on while living in the Aleutian Islands. Perhaps this giant hominid loved to consume deer. If so, then he must have had at least 3 deers every day just to meet the dietary requirements of his massive body. And now we've come to the best pick of the day. Imagine as a paleontologist, you come across a giant skull like this one in the picture. That's quite spooky, right? I mean, if giants existed, it really puts it into perspective just how massive these creatures were. They could have been well over 15 feet. Number 2. The Giants of the Caucasus Mountains. In 2008, a local herdsman from the Caucasus Mountains in Georgia discovered a stone-built crypt that housed 2 massive skeletons sitting at a large table. Researchers later ventured into the area and discovered the human remains of an individual with a height between 8 to 10 feet. While this is by no means gigantic compared to some of the fossil evidence found on this list, perhaps this individual suffered from acromegaly, a condition whereby your pituitary gland continually produces HGH, causing you to continuously grow even past puberty. Poor fella, he probably died an agonizing death from this condition, which today is treatable. Number 1. Giant footprints. And last but not least, we cannot ignore the growing evidence of giants found all over the globe. In fact, there are many reports of giant fossilized footprints that have been found in different parts. The most well-known is the Goliath's footprint in Mpuluzi, South Africa. The foot impression is 4 foot in length and matches a human foot perfectly, besides the size. If a human made this, that thing must have been a monster. But with that being said, we've come to the end of this video. So which of these shreds of giant evidence do you think is real? Or which ones do you think are a massive hoax? Let us know in the comments section down below. Want more videos that will exist until the very end of time? Click on any of the videos that you see on the screen. As always, thanks for watching.